Have you ever walked through Las Vegas and felt like two different cities were colliding right in front of you? On one side, the neon still flashes, fountains leap into the desert sky, and luxury shops shine with polished glass. On the other, the hallways echo with your footsteps, waiters stand by with no orders, and casino executives scramble to explain why the crowds do not seem as loyal as they once were. That is the paradox of Las Vegas in the year 2025. A city that still glitters, but one that quietly shows the cracks of a deeper economic storm. In this video, we will walk through 9 signs that show Las Vegas is slowly losing its appeal. Across the United States, layoffs have piled up by the hundreds of thousands, and even though numbers can sometimes blur into background noise, the reality is simple. When people feel their jobs are unsafe, they stop spending. And if they stop spending in their hometowns, they certainly stop spending in a place like Las Vegas. The Strip, once a symbol of affordable excess, now carries the reputation of nickel and diming. Resort fees, parking charges, bottled water that costs as much as a meal in another city, these things add up. For many visitors, the breaking point has already arrived. Yet here's the strange part. Not every corner of Vegas is hurting in the same way. While the Strip hotels make headlines for declining numbers, locals' casinos, those places off the Strip that once seemed secondary, are humming with activity. Families gather there. Locals drive up without worrying about parking charges. Gamblers find tables with fair rules that feel almost nostalgic. It is as if one version of Las Vegas is suffocating under its own greed, while another version quietly builds a loyal base by doing the simple things right. That tension is what we are exploring in this video. Because Vegas is not just a city, it is a mirror held up to the broader American economy. When jobs vanish in factories or tech companies, Vegas feels the ripple immediately. When inflation makes groceries a struggle, Vegas buffets no longer feel like bargains. They feel like indulgences priced out of reach. And when artificial intelligence reshapes industries, the first thing people cut from their lives is often leisure travel. Vegas is in many ways the canary in the coal mine, signaling what is about to happen everywhere else. But here's the catch. Vegas has always been about more than money. It has been about perception. A cheap buffet was never really cheap. It was bait to keep you playing. A free parking garage was not generosity. It was an invitation to come inside and stay. The illusion worked because people felt clever for taking advantage of it. Today, that illusion is breaking. Guests are not leaving the city feeling clever. They are leaving feeling tricked. In the coming sections, we will hear the voices of locals who say the Strip has lost its way, tourists who describe shocking bills for basic drinks, and longtime fans who admit they have no plans to return. We will also hear from those who still find Vegas alive and thriving, with sold-out hotels and crowded taxi lines. The truth, as always, is somewhere in between. This is not a story of a ghost town. It is a story of a city divided against itself, wrestling with its own identity. And if you want the full picture, remember this. In our previous video, we explained why local casinos are growing stronger while the Strip stumbles. If you missed it, go back and watch that breakdown, because it adds a crucial layer to what you are about to see. For now, stay with me as we peel back the layers of a city that is both shining and struggling, both crowded and empty, both a dream and a warning. Las Vegas may still glow in the desert night, but whether it can keep its promise, that is the bet everyone is watching. Number 1, the split reality. 2 Vegases. Step onto the Strip on any given evening, and the contradictions hit you instantly. Neon arches over the boulevard, music pours from speakers, and crowds still shuffle past one another in the warm desert night. Yet talk to the people actually spending money, and you hear a different story. They are not filling their arms with shopping bags. They are not lining up to order casual food at poolside bars. They are counting the costs before they even sit down. This is why so many locals say the Strip has lost touch with the ordinary visitor. As one longtime resident explained, the Strip has buried itself under fees. Resort fees, parking fees, hidden service charges. By the time you finish the math, the excitement has already dulled. Off the Strip, though, things look different. Casinos like South Point, Boyd's, and stations have become a lifeline for both locals and tourists who still want the Vegas atmosphere without the sense of being fleeced. Think of it this way. The Strip is the glossy magazine cover, bright, loud, and designed to dazzle from a distance. Off-strip casinos are the fine print inside, quieter but more honest. On the strip, you might pay $15 for a bottle of water. Off the strip, you can still get a proper meal for the price of that single drink. The contrast has grown so sharp that many visitors are choosing to spend less time under the bright marquees and more time where the rules feel fair. What makes this division so striking is how new it feels. For decades, the Strip was the beating heart of Las Vegas, and everything else revolved around it. Locals casinos existed, but they did not carry the same weight. Now the equation has flipped. Visitors complain about the Strip, but praise the value they find elsewhere. Families who once avoided casinos now bring their kids to off-strip properties for affordable meals, bowling alleys, and movie theaters. The lines between tourist and local have blurred, and the winners are the properties that respect both. One commenter put it bluntly, while the Strip bleeds, the off-strip thrives. And this is not just a matter of price tags. It is about dignity. Nobody wants to feel tricked. Guests will pay for fun, for entertainment, for memories. But when the bill feels like punishment, they walk away. The locals' casinos understand that better than anyone. They do not need to lure you with grand illusions. They simply deliver what they promise. That shift matters for more than just Vegas. It mirrors the broader American economy. On paper, things may look alive, markets rising, hotels boasting sold-out weekends, but beneath the surface, the everyday experience tells another tale. Shoppers hesitate, families cut back, and entertainment becomes a luxury. The two Vegases are really two versions of America itself, one shouting that everything is fine, the other whispering that something is broken. In our last video, we dug deeper into exactly why the locals' casinos are growing stronger while the Strip struggles. That analysis is worth revisiting if you want the full story, because it shows how simple choices, free parking, fair table rules, affordable dining, can build trust at a time when trust is rare. For now, keep in mind that this split reality defines the Vegas of today. It is not one city anymore. It is two. And depending on where you stand, you might see a celebration or a warning. The real question is which version of Vegas will survive? The one that dazzles from afar but drains your wallet, or the one that whispers quietly and wins your loyalty over time? That choice is unfolding right now, in plain sight, under the same desert sky. Number 2, when prices become the story. Las Vegas has always been about spectacle. The fountains, the lights, the endless buzz of slot machines. Those things are the bait. But once you sit down, order a drink, or grab a quick bite, you discover the other side of the story. Prices that turn excitement into hesitation. The Strip no longer feels like an escape from reality. It feels like a math problem. One visitor summed it up in a way that shocked even longtime fans. He described paying $72 for 5 simple beers at a resort pool. That was not for premium cocktails, not for bottle service, just basic beers. Including tip, it came to a number that left him staring at the receipt in disbelief. And while he looked around, he noticed something even more telling. Servers were standing by with nothing to do. The prices were not just shocking the guests. They were choking the very flow of business. That is the essence of Vegas today. The city once prided itself on making you feel clever for indulging. Buffets were cheap because the casinos wanted you full, sleepy, and ready to gamble longer. Drinks were affordable because the point was to keep you in the game. Even the occasional freebie created an illusion of generosity. Now, that illusion has collapsed. The buffet at a marquee property can cost $100. The drink that once felt like a perk now feels like an insult. When prices become the story, everything else fades. Tourists who once raved about the thrill now go home telling stories about a $20 sandwich or a bottle of water that cost as much as a meal elsewhere. That is not marketing. It is anti-marketing. Word of mouth spreads faster than neon can shine. People post the receipts on social media, share their disbelief, and warn others to think twice. The irony is that the Strip is still packed with options. Shows are dazzling, clubs pump out energy, and restaurants boast star chefs. But none of that matters if guests are too anxious about the bill. Vegas has crossed a line where the prices overshadow the product. You cannot sell excitement by making people feel robbed. What happens next is predictable. Guests cut back. They skip meals, share drinks, or leave properties to find something cheaper. They retreat to locals' casinos or even leave the Strip entirely. The city loses not just revenue, but reputation. And once a reputation shifts, it is hard to win it back. This is not just about numbers on a receipt. It is about psychology. People travel to Vegas to feel alive, to escape the grind of work and bills. If they spend the whole trip calculating how much they are losing on basics, the escape evaporates. The city becomes another stressor instead of a release. That is why one bad bill can outweigh an entire weekend of entertainment. In the end, the Strip has to ask itself a hard question. Does it want short-term profits or long-term loyalty? Because right now, it seems to be choosing the former. And every overpriced drink is a reminder to guests that they could take their loyalty somewhere else. Vegas was built on dreams, not receipts. But if the receipts keep stealing the spotlight, the dream may not last. Number 3, where value still lives. Step away from the Strip, and the atmosphere changes almost immediately. Parking is free. The line at the cashier moves faster. Drinks do not require a second mortgage. The decor might be less polished, but the smiles from staff feel more genuine. This is the world of locals casinos, and it is where value still lives in Las Vegas. These properties do not rely on dazzling fountains or celebrity chefs to attract guests. They rely on fairness. Blackjack pays 3 to 2 instead of 6 to 5. Minimum bets are low enough that casual players can sit for hours without fear of losing their budget in 10 minutes. Meals are priced so that families can eat together without worrying about a receipt that ruins the night. It is not glamour, but it is sustainable. And in times like these, sustainability is the real luxury. One longtime local explained it this way: the Strip is chasing tourists with high fees and higher prices, while off-Strip casinos are simply meeting people where they are. Families come not for the flash, but for the comfort. Travelers wander in after being shocked by Strip prices and realize they can actually relax here. That feeling of ease is what keeps them coming back. The irony is that locals' casinos are not new. They have always been part of the Vegas landscape, quietly serving nearby communities while the Strip hogged the spotlight. But in the past few years, the roles have flipped. Tourists are discovering what locals have known all along: that value, not spectacle, is the true key to Vegas loyalty. There is something almost nostalgic about walking into one of these properties. The rules make sense, the games feel familiar, and the prices remind you of what Vegas used to be. People talk about the old Vegas with a kind of wistful longing, and here, that spirit survives. It is not about pretending to be something it is not. It is about keeping promises. In our previous video, we explored in depth why these locals casinos are thriving. We broke down how offering genuine value, treating customers with respect, and resisting the urge to nickel and dime can build a strong foundation even in tough economic times. If you missed that discussion, it is worth going back to watch, because it shows how these casinos manage to grow while the giants on the Strip struggle. For now, understand this: the health of locals casinos is not just a curiosity. It is a lesson. They prove that guests are still willing to spend, still willing to gamble, still willing to eat out, but only if they feel they are being treated fairly. When the Strip ignores that lesson, it loses ground. When the locals casinos honor it, they gain ground. Vegas has always been a city of contrasts. Today, the contrast between Strip and locals is sharper than ever. One side sells illusions at a premium, the other side sells trust at a fair price. And as more guests discover the difference, the balance of power shifts quietly, one fair bet at a time. Number 4, the human side of layoffs. Behind the glitter of Las Vegas lies a workforce that has carried the city for decades. Dealers, servers, cooks, cleaners, valets, tens of thousands of people who depend on steady shifts and generous tips to support their families. But in 2025, that foundation has begun to crack. Layoffs are not just numbers reported in headlines. They are lived experiences, and they ripple through every corner of the economy. Imagine working at a Strip restaurant where once you could count on a steady flow of orders and tips. Now, the tables sit half empty. Guests who do arrive hesitate to spend, ordering less food or sharing drinks to avoid shocking totals. The paycheck that once covered rent and groceries suddenly comes up short. Layoffs in one department lead to reduced hours in another. Before long, the entire property feels the strain. One comment captured the bigger picture in a single sentence. Even if your job is safe from artificial intelligence, your customers' jobs might not be. That observation cuts straight to the heart of the issue. Vegas does not exist in a vacuum. It survives on the confidence of people who visit. If workers in other states fear losing their jobs, they do not book trips. If they do not book trips, Vegas workers feel the pain. It is a chain reaction that shows how fragile the system has become. The layoffs themselves are not always visible to the casual visitor. Casinos rarely broadcast when they cut staff. The slot machines keep humming, and the shows still go on. But talk to the employees, and you hear stories of colleagues quietly disappearing from schedules. You hear about families packing up and leaving the state to find work elsewhere. The sparkle on the surface hides the instability beneath. Artificial intelligence has accelerated this trend. Entire categories of work once thought secure, data analysis, customer service, even basic coding, are now being automated. For Vegas, that means fewer visitors with disposable income, and eventually fewer jobs within the city itself. Automation does not stop at office jobs. Around the world, robotic servers and self-order kiosks are already replacing human staff in restaurants. It is only a matter of time before Vegas follows the same path, cutting deeper into the very jobs that have defined the city's identity. For those who remain employed, the atmosphere is different. Instead of feeling energized by the constant flow of tourists, many workers now describe shifts as slow, tense, and uncertain. Every paycheck feels like it could be the last. That uncertainty spreads like a shadow, making it harder for families to plan, harder for communities to thrive, and harder for the city to project confidence. Vegas has always been a place where fortunes change quickly. But for the people who keep the lights on, the stakes have never felt higher. Layoffs strip away more than income. They strip away pride, security, and the sense that tomorrow will look like today. And when enough people lose that sense, the city itself begins to tremble. Number 5, greed, replacing competition. There was a time when Las Vegas casinos fought over your loyalty. Each property tried to outdo the others with cheaper buffets, better comps, or flashier entertainment. The goal was simple: make you feel like you were getting the best deal in town so you would come back again and again. That spirit of competition built the legend of Vegas as a place where value and fun walked hand in hand. But those days are fading. Today, many visitors feel that the competition is no longer about who can offer you more, but about who can charge you more. One sharp comment captured it perfectly. Casinos used to fight for your dollar. Now they fight to see who can squeeze the most out of you. Resort fees climb higher, parking charges double, and drink prices cross the line from surprising to absurd. Instead of generosity, guests feel nickel and dimed at every turn. This shift is not just about money. It is about trust. When a casino builds its reputation on being generous, guests forgive the losses at the tables because they feel taken care of. But when every transaction feels like a trick, guests stop believing in the experience. Vegas was built on illusions, but it was never meant to be built on resentment. Once resentment takes root, loyalty dies. The greed is not subtle. Guests can see it in the menus, in the bills slipped under hotel room doors, in the simple act of trying to park. Every time a visitor is forced to calculate the real cost of a stay, the illusion of carefree fun disappears. And when that illusion vanishes, the entire model starts to crumble. Corporate executives argue that these charges are necessary, that they are simply responding to rising costs. But visitors are not buying that explanation. They compare today's Vegas with the stories they heard from parents or grandparents, the cheap steak dinners, the generous comps, the free parking. And they cannot understand how the same city could become so hostile to its guests. The contrast is too sharp to ignore. Meanwhile, the locals' casinos show a different path. They resist the urge to pile on fees, and as a result, they win customers who are tired of being treated like walking wallets. The Strip may still shine brighter, but the locals are quietly building loyalty that lasts longer. And in a market where reputation spreads instantly through social media, loyalty matters more than ever. The tragedy is that greed often looks like success in the short term. Hotels can report higher revenues from fees, Restaurants can boast of premium pricing, and shareholders can applaud quarterly gains. But underneath, the foundation weakens. Guests leave frustrated, share their stories online, and hesitate to return. The long-term damage outweighs the short-term gains. Vegas once thrived by making every visitor feel like a winner, even when they lost at the tables. Now too many visitors leave feeling like losers before they ever roll a single dice. That is not competition. That is exploitation. And if the city does not correct course, greed may replace more than competition. It may replace the very spirit that made Las Vegas legendary. Number 6, generations shift the rules. Every generation that comes to Las Vegas brings its own expectations. The baby boomers built memories of all-night buffets, Rat Pack glamour, and rooms that felt affordable even on modest paychecks. Generation X grew up with stories of cheap tables, free parking, and the thrill of being treated like royalty without having a royal bank account. Millennials and Gen Z, however, see the city through a very different lens. Younger visitors do not chase the same kind of spectacle. They are less interested in simply being dazzled and more focused on experiences that feel authentic and fair. They want clarity up front, prices that match what is advertised, deals that feel honest, and spaces that encourage community rather than isolation. For them, the old tricks of hidden fees and overpriced basics feel less like part of the game and more like disrespect. One voice put it plainly: the last few generations spend their money differently, and outdated, overrated places are not it. That sentiment strikes at the heart of Vegas's current struggle. The Strip keeps leaning on formulas that worked decades ago, formulas built on illusions of excess. But today's traveler, raised on instant information and social media transparency, is not so easily impressed. When they see a bill that feels unfair, they do not shrug and move on. They post it, share it, and warn others. This generational divide explains why so many younger guests are gravitating to locals' casinos or skipping Vegas entirely. They prefer spending money where they feel respected. That respect might come in the form of a lower minimum bet, a fair payout at the tables, or a meal that tastes good without breaking the bank. It does not take neon lights or billion-dollar fountains to capture their loyalty. It takes fairness. The danger for Vegas is clear. If the city clings to outdated models, it risks alienating the very generations who should be building lifelong memories here. Boomers and Gen X may hold fond nostalgia, but millennials and Gen Z are shaping the future of travel. They are already redefining what value means, and they will not wait forever for Vegas to catch up. Las Vegas built its reputation on reinvention. Every decade, it found new ways to thrill the public, from themed resorts to superstar residencies. But the reinvention required now is not about bigger shows or flashier buildings. It is about understanding that the rules of spending have changed. Guests want honesty, fairness, and experiences they can share proudly, not receipts they want to hide. If Vegas listens to this generational shift, it has a chance to renew its promise. If it ignores it, the city may discover that the future it has been counting on has already moved elsewhere. Number 7, a different map of America. Las Vegas likes to call itself the entertainment capital of the world, but it is only one square on a much larger map. And that map, right now, is a patchwork of contradictions. While Vegas wrestles with empty shopping malls, overpriced drinks, and visitors second-guessing their trips, other corners of America are humming along with very different rhythms. Travel 1,000 miles east and you will find towns in the Midwest where local casinos are packed, restaurants are thriving, and small businesses report booming sales. Owners talk about hiring more staff, not cutting shifts. Families fill their calendars with weekend outings because the prices feel fair, the service feels genuine, and the value is obvious. It is not that these towns are immune to inflation or economic pressure. It is that they have adapted by offering what people actually want: straightforward value. This contrast is critical to understanding Vegas's current dilemma. The problem is not simply the economy. If it were, the whole country would look the same. Instead, we see regions where life feels stable and optimism runs high. Guests there are not complaining about being tricked. They are spending money willingly because they feel respected. A commenter captured this perfectly by pointing out that not all of America is experiencing the Vegas effect. In some towns, businesses are booming precisely because they avoid the mistakes the Strip has embraced. They offer good deals, transparent pricing, and reliable service. People reward them with loyalty. What this means is that Vegas cannot hide behind excuses about inflation or global downturns. Other cities face the same challenges and still manage to thrive. The real difference lies in choices. When properties choose greed over fairness, they pay the price in reputation. When they choose transparency, they earn trust that lasts longer than any promotion. For decades, Las Vegas enjoyed a near monopoly on gaming and entertainment in America. Reno could not compete. Atlantic City faltered. Other states had not yet legalized casinos. But that monopoly is gone. Tribal casinos, riverboat properties, and regional resorts now provide alternatives that feel more accessible and less exploitative. Guests no longer need to put up with Strip pricing to enjoy a night at the tables or a weekend getaway. That reality shifts the balance of power. Las Vegas is still iconic, but it is no longer untouchable. Every time a visitor leaves the Strip muttering about being overcharged, another region gains an opportunity to win their loyalty. The Midwest, the South, and other parts of the country are proving that casinos can thrive without chasing guests away. So when we talk about Vegas struggling, we are not talking about America as a whole. We are talking about a city that has chosen a model out of step with what people want today. And until it realigns with that broader map of value and fairness, Vegas will remain an outlier, louder, flashier, but ultimately weaker than the towns quietly building their futures elsewhere. Number 8, visitors who will not return. For decades, Las Vegas built its empire on repeat visitors. The promise was simple: come once and you will want to come again. Cheap meals, fair games, and unforgettable shows created memories people were eager to relive. But in 2025, a dangerous shift is underway. More and more visitors are declaring, sometimes bluntly, that they have no plans to return. One traveler described how his trip during the setup for the Formula One race turned into chaos. Instead of fun, he found barricades, detours, and prices that spiraled out of control. The conclusion was simple: I have been twice, and I have no intention of going back. That kind of statement should alarm any city built on tourism. Each person who says it represents not just lost revenue, but a broken bond of trust. Others echo the same sentiment in different ways. Some are stunned by the bills for basic food and drinks. Others are worn out by endless fees layered onto hotel stays. Still others are frustrated that the Strip feels more like a trap than an escape. When those feelings spread, they become more powerful than any marketing campaign. A single bad memory can outweigh dozens of glowing advertisements. The tragedy for Las Vegas is that visitors who walk away rarely do so quietly. They post their receipts online. They share their experiences on YouTube or TikTok. They leave reviews that stay visible for years. And in an era when travelers plan trips based on a quick search or a friend's recommendation, those negative stories carry immense weight. This is not about people choosing to vacation less. In fact, many of these disillusioned guests still travel elsewhere. They go to regional casinos closer to home. They book cruises. They explore cities where the price of water does not make headlines. What they are really doing is voting with their wallets, and Vegas is losing the vote. Even loyal fans feel the pull. Some say they still love the city, but can no longer justify the costs. Others confess they now visit only because of comps, free rooms, or credits that soften the blow. The emotional connection remains, but the financial logic does not. That is a fragile balance, and it will not hold forever. Vegas once promised that every visit would make you feel like a winner, even if you lost at the tables. Now too many visitors feel like losers before they even place a bet. And when people begin to associate your city not with excitement, but with regret, the future becomes uncertain. The real danger is not just losing a trip here or there. It is losing generations of repeat visitors. A parent who feels burned will not bring their kids. A friend who feels tricked will not recommend the city. Bit by bit, the cycle of loyalty that sustained Las Vegas for decades begins to break. And without that cycle, the neon may keep glowing, but the foundation weakens. Number 9, counterpoints and contradictions. For every story of frustration, there is another story that seems to prove the opposite. A visitor arriving at McCarran Airport describes the longest taxi line they have ever seen. Another notes that the Bellagio was completely sold out during their stay. The lobbies can still feel crowded, the pools can still buzz with energy, and certain weekends remind you of the Vegas that never sleeps. On the surface, it looks like the party has not ended at all. These contradictions are part of what makes Las Vegas so difficult to pin down in 2025. The Strip is not empty, but neither is it thriving the way it once did. The crowds may be there, but the spending is not as free-flowing. People walk the halls, take photos for social media, and enjoy the spectacle. But when it comes time to pull out their wallets, hesitation sets in. The city that once thrived on impulse now collides with caution. This split creates an illusion of stability. Corporate leaders can point to full hotels, packed taxi lines, and busy weekends as signs of health. But beneath those snapshots, cracks spread. The same guests who fill the rooms may skip the restaurants. The same visitors who crowd into clubs may avoid the gaming floor. The picture looks vibrant, but the texture tells another story. The truth is that Las Vegas in 2025 exists in two layers. The first is the visible one, bright, noisy, crowded. The second is the invisible one, hesitant spending, complaints about prices, a growing sense that the magic has dulled. Both layers are real, and both unfold simultaneously. That is why one traveler insists the city is thriving while another vows never to return. They are not contradicting each other. They are simply describing different sides of the same coin. This duality matters because it defines the challenge ahead. Vegas does not face a single crisis with a simple solution. It faces a complex web of perceptions, choices, and emotions. Fixing it will take more than lowering a fee here or adding a new show there. It will require addressing the contradiction at its core. How can the city be both full and empty, both alive and struggling, both iconic and endangered? In the end, these counterpoints remind us that Las Vegas is not dead. It still has power, still draws crowds, still glows against the desert night. But the contradictions are warning signs. They tell us that appearances alone can no longer carry the city. Beneath the glitter, the real question remains unanswered. Can Vegas rebuild the trust that made it legendary? Or will it remain trapped between the image it sells and the reality its visitors now experience? Closing. The final bet. Las Vegas has always thrived on spectacle, but behind the neon is a fragile contract between the city and its guests. For decades, the promise was simple. You come here to spend, but you leave feeling entertained, respected, and maybe even lucky. That promise is what kept people coming back, generation after generation. In 2025, that contract feels strained. We have walked through 9 signs that reveal how Vegas is stumbling. Prices have turned into the story. Layoffs have shaken the people who keep the lights on. Greed has edged out competition. Generational shifts are rewriting the rules of spending. Visitors are beginning to say, sometimes loudly, that they will not return. And yet, in the middle of all this, there are pockets of strength. Locals' casinos that prove value still works. Weekends when the Strip still hums. Reminders that the city is not finished yet. This is the contradiction at the heart of today's Las Vegas. It is not a ghost town, but it is not the unstoppable juggernaut it once was. It is caught between two identities, the old illusion of endless generosity and the new reality of corporate greed. The question is, which version will define the future? Vegas has reinvented itself before. It shifted from the Rat Pack to the mega resorts, from cheap buffets to celebrity chefs, from smoky gambling halls to family attractions and back again. Reinvention is in its DNA. But reinvention only works when the city listens to what people actually want. Right now, people want fairness. They want transparency. They want to feel that their loyalty matters more than squeezing a few extra dollars out of every transaction. The Strip can choose to learn from the locals' casinos, from the towns across America that are thriving by offering real value, from the generations that demand honesty over illusions. Or it can continue down a path where receipts become more memorable than experiences. The final bet belongs to Las Vegas itself. The lights can keep shining, the music can keep playing, but without trust, it all becomes decoration. The soul of Vegas has never been the neon. It has always been the people who felt alive walking beneath it. If the city remembers that truth, it can still win. If not, the 9 signs we have explored may turn out to be not just warnings, but history in the making. And so we end where we began, with the simple question, is Vegas still worth it? For some, the answer is yes. For others, the answer is no. For the city, the answer will depend on whether it can rediscover what made it magic in the first place. The bet is on the table. The dice are in the air. The future is waiting to be revealed.